What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Upline. And today I want to talk to you about how do you make money even though people say no to you? Is there a way that you can actually profit from the ones that don't want to have anything to do with your product or your business opportunity? Well, we're going to talk about that today. So let's get to it. How do you build a successful business in network marketing when everyone you know thinks it's a scam? How do you achieve that dream lifestyle when 99% of distributors quit within their first year, broke and worse off than when they started? If you ask the so-called experts or talk to your family and friends, they will tell you that it's impossible, that it can't be done. But it is being done, and it's happening each and every day by a select group of people that you probably never even heard of. My name is James Cuilty. Join me as I seek to find out how these elite few beat the odds and succeed in network marketing. Welcome to Beyond Your Upline. So when I first started in this industry, and after I had gone through all of my warm market, and now I was faced with the question of, okay, how do I get more leads, right? And at the time, my upline would tell me, said, well, this business is about talking to more people. Is there's people? Are there people that you work with? Are there people that you can interact with when you're going grocery shopping? And just there's people that are all around is what he would tell me, right? And so obviously I wanted to be successful, so I started doing what he would tell me. And I got to a point where, well, one, I got tired of being rejected, and number two, I got tired of every time that I would step outside of my home, I would have um this ickiness in the pit of my stomach, right? It's almost like that feeling that, remember when you were in college and you had finals that were coming up and you knew that this was going to be like, a quarter of your grade, or this was going to make or break, your semester, and you just kept having that anxiety, the closer to finals that you were getting to, especially in my engineering classes, because it was the concepts and everything were just like so above me, and I was like, oh my god, how do I remember all these formulas, and I'm never going to be able to do this. And so, the more that I got close to finals, the more anxiety that I felt. Well, that's the same type of feeling that I felt stepping out of my home every day, knowing that, okay, I'm going to have to talk to like so many people, or I'm going to have to start an uncomfortable conversation, or, I'm just going to, have to, inject, can I get your contact information, or, whatever, pitch that I was going to be using at the time. I had that anxiety all the time, and I hated it, right? And on top of the fact, I wasn't even getting a lot of results from it, right? And so I remember sitting down one evening, and I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I started doing a search on the internet, and uh, fortunate, I came across this website, which was by a gentleman called Mike Dillard. And the website was Magnetic Sponsoring. And he had this 10-day boot camp, right, on how to market and how to actually build a network marketing business outside of your family and friends in your warm market. And I felt that I never heard that before. Now I was like, that's really intriguing. And so anyway, I opted in. The videos were really interesting. And at the end of that 10-day boot camp, he had a product that he was selling, right? And his product was called Magnetic Sponsoring. And the whole program, and all it was like a 50-page ebook, right? And in that ebook, he was basically talking about all of the same marketing concepts that I've been talking about on this podcast. But one of the concepts that he talked about, that he didn't even actually come up with. He actually got it from another gentleman who coined the term and this process. It was Joel Schroeder, and that was back in the 80s, I believe. Was it? Yeah, I think it was. But it was this concept of, he called it a funded proposal. In today's internet circles, they would call it a SLO, or a self liquidating offer. And what is that? Well, basically, it is a generic product that you would present to your prospects, right? For, and again, it's not very expensive, anywhere from like $7 to, let's see, when I purchased a magnetic sponsoring, it was $37. It was $37, right? So anywhere from in that range. And what that does is that you place that before you even present your business opportunity or even your product to your customer. So what does that do? Well, like I said, in the intro, this is how they were actually able to acquire cash, or put cash into their pocket, even if somebody didn't want to have anything to do with their business. But the whole point, it was not for them to actually start, rolling in the dough. The whole point of the funded proposal, what Mike Dillard was talking about in his magnetic sponsoring course, was for you to have the ability to acquire leads for free. And what do I mean by that? Well, here, I pulled it out. Actually, I'd go through my library, but he says, remember this. This is the success formula of the MLM masters. Retail profits from a generic information product. Here is the example, magnetic sponsoring, which pays for all of your advertising, which equals endless leads. And when you have endless leads, that leads to endless business growth. So if you're spending $500 a month on leads and not getting many results, you are going into the hole each and every month. But when you incorporate a funded proposal and you start acquiring these leads for free, because the cash that you have, or the cash that you have acquired by selling that generic information product, that is what's paying for your leads. So the leads that come in, you are getting them for free. That is how you play the game to win. Does that make sense? And when I read that, my mind was like, no way. Why have I not heard about this before? So to kind of sum up what Mike Dillard was talking about and how you can apply this to your business right now is, before you even present your product or your opportunity, there needs to be a some sort of a simple, digestible information product that you could simply put together. I mean, the with the internet, it is so easy to actually do a little bit of research around a certain topic to give somebody a certain result, right? And in that your result, or in that like report, what that will do is that will give you cash in your pocket, so then you can pay for advertising, because you won't hear this from any top level network marketer or even affiliate marketer. You won't hear this from. But here's the underlying I want to say issue, but here's the unwritten rule, right? Unless you're paying for advertising, you're never going to get ahead in this business. You're not. And I know they tell you that, you know what, you just need to talk to more people, and that's all well and good. But if that system was really working, then we wouldn't have, the majority of people failing, quitting, and also suing network marketing companies because they're not making any money, right? It's because that system is not working, right? And so if you want to play this game to win, you got to think a little bit differently. And the rules of the game is, and I learned this concept from Dan Kennedy, is the person who can spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. Right now, obviously, this is played out in larger corporations, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Apple, all of those businesses. They have all of this cash. And so what can they do? So they can just throw that cash, out on the internet or at any type of advertising, whether it be TV or newspapers or, whatever they decide to do, and to have instant name recognition, right? Because they have the budget. They can do that. But for us, we don't have a budget of millions and millions of dollars, right? And so we have to do things a little bit differently. But the principle is still the same. The person who can pay the most money to acquire a customer will always win. And how you do that is by setting up this SLO, or self-liquidating offer, getting a generic information product. And I say information product because it's really super simple to do a little bit of research around a topic, put it together in a simple format that's digestible for people, and it's easy for them to take action on, and then put it out there, right? But here's the beauty of it, because once you put that out there, it's all related to your product and your business opportunity, right? Let me give you another example, or let me just go back to Mike Dillard. Okay, so Mike Dillard's whole process was magnetic sponsoring. It was being magnetic, right? Having people come to him, asking him to join his business or purchase his product. And what he did was he created magnetic sponsoring, which was his generic product. And it talked about how to use real world marketing strategies in order to build your network marketing company, right? And at the time when he did this concept was unheard of, right? Nobody was doing this in the network marketing industry. And this was back in the early 90s, I believe. I think it was like, no, I take, was it? No, I take that back. It was 2007, I believe it is. Yeah, in the early 2000s when he did this. So anyway, so he would start promoting this product, right? It had nothing to do with the specific company that he was in, but it acquired, customers, because people were coming like myself. They would pay like $37 because this is really awesome to get this. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I want to know more. And so now he had his links to his business and to his business presentation for me to click onto, and also find out what he was doing, right? And so even if, and I did not at the time when I actually purchased this product, Mike had left his company, and he was just focusing in on this publishing of magnetic sponsoring and building the brand around this, right? So he had already made his money, and I think he sold his distributorship or something like that. So he wasn't actually actively building his business by the time I got to this. But he talks about in his trainings was this was how he became like the second leading recruiter and distributorship in his particular company, right? And so he would have people buy this generic product, and then it would be on his customer list. Remember, we talked about that, building a customer list first. And so I believe he had like 50,000. Yeah, he built up a customer list of about 50,000 people. And so from that list, he was then promoting his business opportunity, right? And that was how he grew his business. And all he was doing before he turned this into a generic product, it was interesting, the backstory behind this, was because when he started learning these concepts and applying it, and he started getting some results when all the 10 years that he had been in network marketing, he was completely failing. When he started to get to results, people started asking him, like, what was he doing? He shared with them what he was doing. And so they're like, whoa, can you teach that? And so he put together basically a generic manual, not a generic manual, a manual that he was giving to all of his distributors in his particular company, right? And people started applying those concepts, and they started getting a lot of results. That was how his distributorship grew. He started to become really famous. And I wouldn't say famous, but within his company, he started to become known. And then he started doing trainings, started teaching all of this. A lot of people outside of his organization wanted to get their hands on it. So he decided to, well, you know what? I will take out all of the specific company stuff, and I will just make this a generic and start offering this to everybody else. When that started happening, that was when he, stopped actively building his business and started focusing more on this, information, business with magnetic sponsoring. But anyway, that's a little bit of the backstory. But the whole point is that he had created a self-liquidating offer that was paying him cash. He was turning around and taking that cash, and he was purchasing leads. That was how he had endless leads. And on top of that, because he had started to get so many leads in, obviously he can contact all these people. So the people that he was recruiting, guess what? If they came in at the top package, then he would start, farming these leads that he had already acquired. He would start, giving them to his downline, and so his downline started to grow, and it started to grow exponentially. And so that was how he, became really, really popular and also successful in the network marketing industry at that time, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I did go through his program, and it was absolutely top notch. And I was like, this is amazing. But you know what? Mike Diller was not the only one that did this. I told you, Joel Schroeder did. He actually started this concept, and then a few years later, Mike Dillard, kind of tweaked it a little bit, and then his product was magnetic sponsoring. Well, then there was another network marketer who was her name was Ann Sieg, and she was similar to what Mike Dillard was talking about. But Mike Dillard, he was actually specifically, when he started or excuse me, let me back up. I'm fumbling over my words because my mind's working faster than my lips. I apologize. Mike Dillard was the marketing concepts that he was teaching was creating a sales letter that would sell that generic product, or that you could use to sell your specific network marketing product, right? And he was doing that through, specifically at that time, it was Google PPC ads, right? And then Ann Sieg, she created a similar program, but her program was the Renegade Network Marketer, right? Which, again, it's pretty similar concepts to what Mike Diller was teaching, but her hook was she was teaching people to generate leads through blogging, setting up a blog, writing articles, promoting, business strategies, and that's how you acquired your customers, right? Same concept, but just a little bit of a twist. But at that time, magnetic sponsoring and the Renegade Network Marketer were huge, but those are two generic products that they had created in order to acquire customers. So in your business, if you want to be able to compete with the big boys, the only way that you can do that is have a system that allows you to acquire customers for free. And the only way that you could do that is obviously by putting something in front of them that is of value that they could purchase, and that money that you get, you don't put it into your pocket, you put it into advertisements that gives you more leads. Because just like like I said before, Dan Kenny, the person that can acquire, the person that can pay more to acquire a customer will always win. Does that make sense? But there's too many network marketers that, one, they don't learn marketing strategies. Two, they're either purchasing leads, or they're trying to promote ads, but they don't really know what they're doing. So they're wasting a lot of money and they're losing money, right? That's not how you play this strategically, and that's not how you play this game intelligently. How you do that is obviously, like we've been talking about before on this podcast, you have one problem, one solution, and you create one product that solves that solution. That's what you sell. Very low ticket, $7 to like $27. Doesn't have to be a lot, right? And I know I know what was going through your mind, because it went through my mind when I first heard this too. It was like, well, there's they could, why would they pay for something for me when they could just go out onto the internet and find it themselves, right? Right. I'm sure that's what you've been asking, because I know that was the first question that came to my mind. But being in this business, this is what I've learned. People are lazy. And I'm not meaning this in a derogatory sense. What I mean is that people are busy. They're not. Yes. Could they? Absolutely. But are they going to go and start doing some searches, not knowing what is popping up is the right information, or is, kind of junk information, right? They would gladly pay for somebody who has already filtered through all that stuff and given them just the necessary information that they need, that they can immediately apply to get a result, right? Let's just use fat loss, for instance. I mean, you could get on the the internet, fat loss. You just type in fat loss meal plan, right? And all of these generic meal plans will start popping up, right? So what would you be able to offer somebody that they would be able to pay for when they could just do a search for it as well, right? Absolutely. But you know what? Here's the thing. How do they know that what's going to come up is the right meal plan? Thousands of meal plans are going to come up. Which is the one that they should use? All right. There's meal plans that are out there that are actually designed by registered and licensed nutritionists that are having purchase Quaker oats, the instant Quaker oats. Yeah, the stuff that you get in the box, the stuff that is like basically pure sugar. They got meal plans that have that in there, right? And so, what if somebody is a type 2 diabetic, or what if somebody is, has a gluten sensitivity? Would that work for them? Absolutely not. Right. So you could simply go through and filter out all of the bad stuff and put in, things that would actually get them results. Right. So, for instance, let's just say you have somebody that was vegan but wanted to do keto. You could simply put together a simple 10-day meal plan to get them to lose their first 5 or 10 pounds, that is vegan keto, or keto vegan, whatever you want to call it, right? Going through all of that. What are the top supplements to take in order to help with cortisol, right? Again, there's tons of information out there, but not all of it is correct. There's a lot of bro science that's out there. So, what does the research actually say? Well, one, the average person is not going to know where to go to find those research articles. Number two, even if they did, they wouldn't even know how to decipher all of that information. I mean, I go through tons of that stuff, and I don't even know how to read a lot of that stuff. I mean, I have to find other doctors that have gone through that research to kind of help me piece together what I'm really looking for, and when a certain research article says this, what it actually means, right? That takes time. But to you go through all that and have to go, and spend all these hours just, piecing together the right pieces of information, guess what? People will pay for that. They absolutely will. They will pay for speed. They will pay for speed when they have the option of either paying somebody who's already gone through all that stuff, and all they have to do is just go. And we'll use the meal plan for an example, that could just print out that meal plan and just follow it. This is the meal I need to do on this days. Okay, great. I'll do that. They will pay for that, as opposed to them going and doing themselves. They may say, hey, I can go and look at it on the internet. And there's lots of people who will say that, but I'm here to tell you that the majority of them, 99.9% of them, don't do it. And so that's how you're able to create something really simple, even though the information is already out there, but you can cure, or I wouldn't say cure, but you can acquire all of that, curate. That's the word I was looking for. You could curate that information, put it together, $7, $9, you know what? Somebody would gladly pay for that. And guess what? That is how you can start profiting from people who don't necessarily want to do your business, or don't even want your products. But you'll have cash in your pocket to reimburse and to pay for future leads in your advertisement. But number two, you would be able to start building up your customer list. And that's the most important thing, because now you have them on your list. They may not want to buy now, but eventually they'll buy later, right? And you keep sending them good information, emails, newsletters, all of that stuff, all the things that you're learning, just like everything that I'm learning, I'm putting up on this podcast. This is no different. I am putting this out there for all of you to use and actually apply to your business. You could do the same thing to an email list. You could do the same thing if you wanted to do Instagram Reels or Facebook Lives, or YouTube videos. It's the same thing. It's the same process, providing value. But that's how you will able to separate yourself from everybody else, right? So I'm going to leave you with this. We'll end with this. But remember what Mike Dillard talked about in Magnetic Sponsoring. He said, remember this. This is the success formula of the MLM Masters. Retail profits from generic information products like Magnetic Sponsoring equals free advertisement. Free advertising means free leads. Free leads means endless business growth. That's how you play this game, and that's how you play at the top level. Does that make any sense? So, I mean, I can go really deep in here, but I don't. I mean, this podcast would be like hours long. But I just wanted to kind of give you the overall view, the 30,000 foot view, so you can kind of start getting your mind thinking about, what can I do? What can I put together? What are other people that are selling? What can I give somebody that would provide value for them, that they would pay me for, that I would be able to use to pay for my advertising? What kind of generic information product can I put in front of my customers before I start, promoting my product and my business? And in future episodes, I'll start talking about what you do after they've purchased, or after you've got them on your list. How do you get them into your business? How do you get them to buy your product? We'll go over that in future episodes. But that's all I have for you today. Think about this, digest it, apply it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. But as always, thank you so much for listening. And I am going to talk to you in the next episode. You have an awesome day. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening. If you want to hear more of how the top income earners are actually building their network marketing business beyond their family and friends, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the secret hacks that I uncover.